I wanted to start this interview with Atletico Madrid because it fascinates me, that move. I was at the time, I actually felt quite proud that an English, intrigued and proud that an English defender would be able to go over and operate under Simone, which
it's tough.
Yeah, I played a game against him, by the way, when I was in Spain, Valencia. They beat us 2-0, and it was an experience. I felt like I was being suffocated, as in on the touchline. He was there, he was imposing, he was aggressive. He walked past me at the end of the game, didn't shake my hand, and was almost like dismissive. I thought, you are one horrible good.
Yeah, but if you play for him, it's
So I was thinking, how did that come about to start with?
To be honest, I think obviously when it was the 2018 World Cup, you know, I thought I had a decent tournament. Say it was my first one, and then maybe in that time, the season after, I didn't really know how to maybe handle the pressures of, you know, being more known and things like that. And then that season, I didn't really do too well. You know, I'm the first to admit that. I didn't go to the Nations League with England. You know, I had a good chat with Gareth, which I knew anyway. And then, you know, there was a few clubs, to be fair. Like, I weren't expecting like teams in Italy. With Ancelotti at Napoli, it was nearly done there. And then out of nowhere, Madrid came in, and you know, I went back to pre-season with Tottenham, and you know when you just know, don't you? When your time's up, it's up. You know, it's.
What was it that was up at Tottenham? What was it that you felt?
I think maybe a change. I think I had a talk with obviously Pochettino at the time, and obviously Daniel Levy as well, and I weren't getting the answer that I wanted in the sense of I'm a part of the plans and stuff. But it's fine. Players come and go, managers come and go, and it's about trying to find that next step. And then Atletico Madrid came in, and I just said to the agent straight away, like, I want to sign for them. And then I was in Madrid straight away, and you know, I've never looked back since. Unbelievable journey. Yeah.
What was your first encounter with Diego Simeone? What was that like?
It was so I'd done my press conference, and then I thought, you know, maybe I can go home and get some things together because I didn't. So I thought maybe bring some stuff over. I didn't have anything.
Yeah.
And then he texted me and just said, right, straight to San Rafael. You know, in San Rafael, Los Angeles, the mountains. You come straight there. So I thought, right, okay. Bye to my family, and then straight into pre-season. And yeah, just his presence. You know, you felt it straight away, and just an absolute joy, and you know, I admire him.
What was the work regime like under him? So start with that pre-season compared to other pre-seasons you'd done.
Yeah, so he was relentless, and we have a guy called Profe, so he's the fitness coach there. So basically, like the first day was like 6:30. You know,
in the morning.
Yeah, golf course running, for example, and then basically 3 sessions a day. But I was sort of used to it, and I was surprised with my fitness because of what I did for Poch, because how relentless it were and demanding it were for him. So I was sort of prepared for what they was going to throw at me. I had a good pre-season, fitness-wise, and and it's about when you go abroad, it's about making that effort, you know, embracing their culture and that, and we click straight away.
In terms of principles of play, of playing right back, obviously you think about all the sort of different styles of right back now, going into midfield, overlapping, underlapping, being a third centre back. He was the classic sort of traditional 4-4-2. Was it more of a traditional thinking of how to play right back, as I would have maybe been taught it or learned it?
No, definitely. And when I went there, people was like, oh, it's a wrong move for him, you know, he's not going to get past the halfway line, things like this. But, you know, he encouraged me to go forward as much as I could. He just got me into some positions where I just thought to myself, like, it was so simple, like defensive.
Talk to me on a right back level, so in terms of where you would be.
Yeah, so when I first went there, he said, I need to improve your defending. Like, as blunt as that, basically. Like, your defending needs to improve.
And that's probably one of the strongest parts of your game, really, isn't it?
Well, I think before then,
you got a good balance, but...
Yeah, but I think before then, I think I was a bit suspect when I was at Tottenham in my last season. I was there, you're getting caught out, you're playing people on side, and it's all about fine margins, and it was just a consistent basis, and I just wanted the season to end. You know, I just felt like I was getting suffocated because I weren't performing. Yeah. And he worked with me like so many hours, just me and him on the training pitch after training, showing me clips of other players, and that's why he's really, you know, if you break his trust, that's it. Like, you're done. Like, he's one of those where.
In what way? What would be breaking his trust?
It's just about being on time. Again, respect for everybody else, and on the pitch as well. You have to run. If you don't run for him, it doesn't matter how much they paid for you, how much you're on. You know, you're gone. So, and I think it's there for everyone to see. You have to run for him.
And what specifically defensively did he work on with you?
So he used to always put me up against like players like Thomas Lemar or Carrasco, different type of winger, where Carrasco's one of them where he'll chop you and Limar's one of those where he was just running behind you, and he was very clever in the plays he always put me up against. And I look back now, I think he'd done it on purpose to see how I'd cope.
Yeah.
And yeah, he just used to work me like positioning, you know, when to go forward, when not to go forward, and he was really intelligent, and I learned so much off him.
Was he the coach that you think has impacted your game most, or would you point towards someone else that you've worked with?
I've got to give a lot of credit to say like Pochettino as well, because obviously he was my manager when I got my first call up for England, so I've got a lot to thank him for. Sean Dyche, from back in the day when you know, I was young, stupid, going out all the time, and he proper reeled me in, and he proper was tough with me. And obviously the gaffer now, Eddie Howe, and so they've all done different things for me, and you know, I'll always respect every manager that I've had.
Going abroad, living abroad, moving your family abroad, winning abroad, living under a manager that's been at the highest level. Do you see it as being almost like on your CV as a big, massive win? I would for you, looking at it.
Definitely, because I've said it's the only major trophy that I've won in my career. But it's difficult, and that's why I respect players who come to England now. When I used to look at players before I went to Spain and think, how do you not adapt? Or top quality players, how do you not settle? But when I went to Spain, and that's why I respect players who play in the Premier League, who are from like South America, or because it's tough, and you got to make the effort as well. Like certainly when I was in Spain, because I think I was the only English player in about 100 years or something to play for them, but the players was good, like Morata, Costa, who spoke English, Savic, I was at City with when he was there. So you got to make that effort. You got to, you know, like going for dinner with him and that, and it's just embracing that culture, and I loved every second of it.
Obviously, you come through at City. Yeah. And you think, obviously, they let you go. Yeah. You think now that if Pep was there 10 years ago, 15 years ago, do you almost look at it and think, actually, I'd have had a chance if I was there now in this period? Did you ever look at it like that? Not really, if I'm going to be honest with you. I just think I look at my career and I won't change anything. I think at the time when I was there, you had Zabaleta, who was one of the best right backs for many years, and obviously Micah as well was there. Yeah. So, and then I went through the transition where they just got taken over, and they started buying loads of players, and I needed to get out and play. I was at Barnsley, and then when I came back, and I experienced that, and I just think, you know, there's no shame in dropping down a league, or, you know, and it was tough for me at Man City at the time because I was never going to play, and playing against men in the Championship, and then that's when I signed for Burnley. And you look at that sort of period in your career, sort of going, say, Barnsley or Burnley, it's stood you in good stead because it's kept you grounded, it's given you good principles. No, definitely, and I go back to my first ever game at Barnsley, I was playing next to Darren Moore. So, and he was brilliant with me, Darren Moore, and it was just a good experience, a year and a half at Barnsley, and I just wanted more of it. And of course, I was at City, you know, many years through the youth system and stuff, and you know, there's players that decided to stay there and get more money, and now they're not really playing, so. Just getting games was important. Yeah, just getting games was important, no matter where it was. Back then, when you're so young, you don't play for the money. It's more for the pure enjoyment of playing football, and that's what my main focus were. And then I knew a few lads at Burnley when I was there, so everything was perfect, really. You're 33 years of age. You're at Newcastle, and you're working under Eddie Howe. Yeah. Why Newcastle? Because at the time it was questioned, wasn't it? You left definitely. Almost like, you know, why was it Newcastle? Why here? Yeah, so when I was in Madrid, obviously it was the season before I left. It was a tough year for me for numerous reasons. And then I just wanted to come back to England. My family, you know, was finding it a bit difficult at the time. I could have stayed at Madrid. I could have signed a new 3-year contract at Madrid. You know, Simeone in the car park the day I was leaving didn't want me to go, but it was the right thing at the right time for my family. And as players, you gotta, you know, be realistic where you can go. So I weren't going to go and sign for City, Liverpool. I knew I was restricted to certain clubs. Manchester United came in though, didn't they? No, United did straight after the Euros, and that was very close. Obviously, growing up being a Red as well with all my family, but it didn't happen. You know, everything happens for a reason. So what happened? He fell away at the last minute, or? No, to be fair, it just fell away really. I think Ole was the manager at the time, and everything seemed perfect. I was absolutely, you know, chuffed. It's Man United, biggest club in the world. And it didn't happen, so I was back at Madrid. It's not a bad place to go back to, is it? So, and then 6 months later, I was at Newcastle. But yeah, obviously everyone raised their eyebrows. Obviously, he's going for the money, he's going for this. You know, I've made it clear many times I took less money coming to Newcastle than I did at Madrid. I didn't have a relegation clause, even the position that we're in. I trusted the manager, and that was a key factor why I came. When I've watched Newcastle over the last 18 months, it's been quite clever what they've done in terms of off the pitch, not going crazy, but being quite methodical and quite stable in the way in which they've approached it, the ownership. bringing Eddie into again, I think mirrors that sort of value. And then thinking about you on the pitch in the last 12 to 18 months, thinking you mirror it on the pitch, that sort of ethos. Do you feel like that, the standard bearer on the pitch?
Yeah, I think when I first signed, there was going for a tough moment. Obviously, we got beat by Cambridge my first game, and you could see around the place where it was just about believing. And then we signed good characters, as you mentioned. We signed Dan Burn, great leader, Geordie, run through a brick wall in the situation I was in, Matty Target, myself, Bruno, who's been, remarkable. So I think at the time it was about bringing the right character in for the team, for the squad. Because I've been in the dressing rooms before, as I'm not saying you may have as well, where sometimes if one has an ego, it's like a domino effect then, and that's dangerous for a team.
Particularly with senior players.
Yeah, so the players that we signed was perfect for that season. Unfortunately, I broke my foot that year, which I was devastated about, but what the team went on to do was incredible, and the manager's like a big believer in that, standards, always respect the staff, kit men, whatever it may be, so he's certainly set the tone, and I've worked for him before as well, and he demands a lot from me, and to try and help the players around me.
You've played for managers actually that've got a thread. You think about Sean Dyche and the sort of image that he has, Pochettino, Simeone, Eddie Howe. Non-negotiables are work ethic,
100%.
Attitude, being a good, if you like, teammate.
Yeah.
Would you say it's fair, that isn't it, to say?
No, definitely, and all four managers that you just mentioned, they all demand that you run, that you work hard for the team, regardless of the result. You always go to the end. And I think that's what you've seen for Newcastle. We're a high pressing team with high demands, and every manager that I work for demand that. They demand that you work hard, you're respectful around the place. Yeah, and I've learned a lot about myself recently.
So I want to talk about fitness. I remember my record running, because we started to do the running stats. You'll have all these stats now. I think just before, sort of towards the end of my career, I think I'd done 11.6 or 7k in a game. I'd done 800-900. I think the record I'd done was 800-900 of high intensity, or just under 1,000. But what's your sort of average sort of like distance?
12k.
12k's average.
12k a game probably.
And high intensity would be?
God, I don't know off the top of my head. It's a lot. My high intensity, it's a lot to be fair.
Over 800-900?
Yeah, probably. Decel excels a lot, especially the way that we play. Well, that fullbacks are these days against the wingers that you're up against. So the stats now are through the roof, and I think now you have to run. That's a given.
I read a couple of days ago, coming into this interview, that you were put in some chamber. Was it
Tottenham?
Yeah, Tottenham.
Altitude chamber, yeah.
Altitude chamber, because you were overweight.
Yeah, so...
There's nothing on you.
No, not now there's not, but back then, looking back at some pictures, I look like I swallowed about 3 pillars. But,
what would your weight have been when you came from sort of Burnley to Tottenham?
Probably, when I was at Burnley, I'd play about 76, 77 kilos.
Oh, I'm showing my age, I'm in stones.
Yeah, so now I'm about 70, 71 now.
So you lost 6 kilos?
From back then, yeah. So obviously when I was at Burnley, it was...
It's like a stone, that, is it?
Yeah, probably more than that, yeah. But when I was at Burnley, it's like you look at nutrition, you look at...
Was it pies and chips, basically?
I just think if you look then, like the resources that we had at Burnley was nothing compared to what I had at Tottenham. And I was
the nutrition advice and things
definitely.
like that?
And I was in for a big shock, because when I was at Burnley, I wasn't professional, shall we say.
What was that, like a couple of pints?
Yeah, well 2-3 days a week probably. But yeah, and then when I went to Tottenham, I didn't realise, obviously you walk in and you see Hugo Lloris, Harry Kane, top pros.
Yeah.
And it probably took me the first week where I thought,
you're blowing a bit.
This is going to be tough. And then I was in the chamber for about a good 5-6 months. Jesus put us in there after training. The training was relentless as
also, Maurizio's, but Jesus, yeah.
Yeah, Jesus Perez, yeah.
We stuck you in altitude chamber?
Yeah, in the inside after every session.
For how long?
Good, I don't know, 35, 40 minutes.
What, just literally fat burning type stuff?
Yeah, fat burning, so we'd be on the treadmill, then we'd be on the rower, and then we would...
Who's we?
I might as well throw him under the bus. There was me, Toby, Sonny was in there a couple of times.
What? Son that plays football for Tottenham now? There's nothing on him.
Yeah, Sonny was in there. But we all signed in the same window, you see.
Oh, so you
all
came?
Like, so we had Kevin Wimmer at the time. All 4-5 was at the same window, so it was like, right, yeah, we're all in for a shock here. But it was relentless, it was tough. But then after 6 months, you get used to it.
Was that the biggest shift in professionalism that you had in your life?
Definitely. I think moving from the area that I was from, like, I'm not saying my mates are to blame or anything. I'm saying far from that. But it was the best thing that ever happened to me moving to London at the time.
I was mocked ridiculously about 3 months ago off Jamie Carragher and Roy Keane actually. I don't know if you might not, you won't have seen it. Where I said that I had to almost split from my friends from the area that I was when I was younger, because the priorities of them was that they were just, for them it's normal to go and have 3-4 pints or eat a bar of chocolate or chippy. If I did that, I'm done.
Yeah. And
so I had to almost, like, in some ways, put blinkers on.
I still speak to some of them now, but I was sort of blinded from it at the time where, I was doing all right at Burnley and I was going out thinking it's the right thing to do. But when I moved to London with my wife, looking back now, is the best thing that ever happened in my career for sure.
Just getting out of that sort of...
Getting out of that area, living on, just on our own, we didn't know anybody. Not just going out for drinks or whatever it may be, but it was the best thing that happened.
Did you put an altitude chamber in your house, or did you?
I didn't need to. The weight dropped straight off me when I was at Tottenham.
To be perfect every day in what you eat, what you drink, how you rest, how you recover, all the things that you're asked of. It's almost like a sort of military regime every single day. I got to sort of 35 and I felt like, I can't do this anymore.
No.
You're nowhere near that at this moment in time. You feel like you're still sort of, if you like, thinking there's sort of 3, 4, 5 years left. Is that where you're at in your mind?
No, 100%. And, I go in every single day looking forward to training. It's never once crossed my mind about when I'm going to finish. Of course, the international side, okay, more so for sure. But
do you think you will finish after this tournament?
You never know. I never want to say. Yeah. I'm one of those where I never probably come out officially and retire. I'll always be there if I'm needed.
Is it harder to go away? Is it because that's September, October, November, March, summer, and then you're on the roundabout spinning all the time, aren't you? And it is tough.
No, it is, and especially when you probably see like lads, probably having a week off and that, but you get used to it, and when I get called up for England, it's actually, it's such a big honour. No, I absolutely love it. And to represent the country, and hopefully this summer will be my 4th tournament. And, if I go, I've absolutely loved every moment of it. And sometimes you've got to be realistic as well. I'm 34 in September. I'm up against top quality right backs, or left back if I'm playing there. So it could be my last tournament if I'm picked. No guarantees. I think it's gone down to 23 as well. Yeah, you need to perform at the highest level, because again, I'm up against probably one of the toughest positions in the squad. I didn't realise if I missed and they scored, they would have gone through. So yeah, I know. I didn't even realise if I'm not playing, I'm not going to kick up a fuss. I'll work hard, and if I'm called upon, you've always got to be ready. Are
you actually fixed? That's what I want to be a coach.
Of course, it's going to be tough, but I feel I can give a lot back.
Kyle Walker, Reece James, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kieran Trippier, but the one that has been trusted the most by Gareth, I think there's no doubt he trusts you. He's gone to you and returned to you. Why do you think he's done that?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I owe Gareth a lot. I've made near 50 caps, and I've got to thank him for a lot. And I'm one of those players where if I'm playing or not playing, I'll always give everything, because when teams when the starting 11's playing and then you have to train the next day, it's about being committed and making sure that everyone's on it. Like, for me, Hendo's the best at that. But
you mean the day after the game where essentially we used to call it the bomb squad.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Basically, it's like Sunday training session. All the first team are in the jacuzzi, and you're
but especially tournament football as well, because you're away for 5 weeks, and it's about keeping that positivity. And I think Gareth's been the main head of that. What it means to play for England, regardless if you're playing or not, you always support your teammates, and I think that's what I'm all about. If I'm not playing, I'm not going to kick up a fuss. I'll work hard, and if I'm called upon, like the first game of the Euros against Croatia, I was playing left back. There's no way I thought I'd be starting when you've got Ben Chilwell who just won the Champions League. So you've always got to be ready. And
what is it that Gareth's done? Because I played for England for many, many years, where I look at the England squad now and I think everyone comments on this, that the spirit feels like a club side. How has he developed that? What specific things has he sort of introduced?
Certainly when I first arrived, we had meeting after meeting, what it means to represent England, the badge, the supporters, and it's always important that he's been an ex-England player as well. And it's just trying to bring that togetherness, and it's been so long since we've won something, and And I think everybody's bought into it, and I think, you know, everyone sees that. Everyone loves going to camp. Players are not pulling out, which is key, and everybody's ready. And especially when you go to tournament football, you see the talent that we've got, and I see all the time, this player should be playing, that person should be playing it. You know, obviously I won't like to be Gareth, because it's tough. He's got nearly 30 plus players who are playing unbelievable, but he handles it very well, and you know, everybody fully respects him.
You, in the period of your career at 33 where you're in complete comfort, as in, I don't mean comfort as in you don't put pressure on yourself, but you go out onto the pitch, you've seen it all, and actually there's no game now that can surprise you. You're almost like it's not comfort, it's almost like a peak, I suppose. It's your peak of your career. Yeah,
it is, and I go into every game with, even till this day, with, you know, butterflies, because...
Do you get nervous then before games?
No, honestly I don't. Even throughout my whole career, really, I've never really got nervous. And
wow, why not?
I don't know. I actually don't know. That's
a good thing.
Yeah, it's like if I'm playing a big game, for example, you know, for Newcastle, whatever it may be, I always put in my head, I played in a bigger game. I always try and think like that.
So perspective.
Yeah, like I've always played in a bigger game, nothing to worry about. And it's having that self-belief as well. You know, you can do well. You know, always being positive. So, no, I never really get nervous. The only time where I've probably been nervous a little bit is when I took the penalty in the World Cup against Colombia. So, because I've never took one before, and I didn't realise if I missed and they scored, they would have gone through. So, yeah, I know. I didn't even realise. That's what I mean. I was just in the zone, really.
What you mean you felt nervous on the? I mean, obviously, I've never done it.
I've never been in that position.
No, I've not either. Yeah. But so that walk up just talked me through it, because that is the sort of England fans. Yeah. I suppose misery over 30, 40 years, isn't it? Yeah, but that was unbelievable that night. I mean, I was there watching it, but you're walking up, what you're thinking is just different feeling in your body, like a...
I just went numb. Honestly, I just went numb, and, you know, relief when it went in. And then, yeah, his first penalty shot we've won in I don't know how many years, but that tournament would come over so many obstacles, which was good.
What is the rules that Gareth instills with penalty practice in training so that it actually comes out more successful in games?
So we have, obviously, after training, play like 4 players, because if there's like 15, 16 players, it can be carnage. So just a select few every day in training throughout the tournament, where you just pick your spot, you take 3 penalties, and then they analyse it.
So they watch them back on video?
Yeah, they watch them back, and then they would obviously probably choose then, you know, who's more consistent, and to be fair, we've got some unbelievable penalty takers in that squad. So yeah, it's just about being consistent with your practice, and being confident in that moment, because it is a long walk.
you shouldn't have been as good at taking him in training. You should have sort of fluffed your lines in training. Not for me.
I don't think anybody would do that, but we've got a lot of good penalty takers.
18 was a surprise. It sort of shocked everybody. And then there was almost like an expectation grew, and obviously so close with the Euros. We had that feeling, will we get there again? Yeah. Whereas you lads seem to have that feeling that it's just a step nearer
100%
to get in there and sort of winning a tournament.
No, definitely. I think you go back to 2018, it was, again, the first half especially, we should have been 3-0 up.
Yeah.
And again, it's about fine margins, and then you have people like Modric, and you just turn the screw and then it's over. And then obviously get beat on penalties against Italy, Qatar, where I thought we maybe dominated against France as well.
Yeah, it was a 50-50 game at best, wasn't it?
It was
tight, wasn't it?
And as you know better than anybody, it's all about fine margins and, you know, the little moments in games. And we always believe, and we shouldn't be scared to say that we can win the tournament. You know, it's not about being arrogant or anything. It's, again, having that self-belief as a squad, as individuals, that we have the players, the squad to go on and be successful.
Just going back to you sort of managing yourself and the idea of sort of, have you started to think about that at the age of 33? Think about what does sort of like 38 look like? What does 40 look like?
It's scary, to be honest with you. I've spoken to a lot of players. Obviously, in my head, you know, it's sometimes you've got to accept that it's going to come to an end sooner or later. And I'd like to go into coaching, but I feel certainly the past 7-8 years I've looked after my body better. I feel like, you know, I feel good on the pitch. And yeah, it's all about being professional, and I feel like I've got a good few years in me yet. Whatever level that's at, you know, I know when the time's right, but, you know, I'd love to go into coaching when I finish. I play for some top managers who I learned a lot off, players that I played with, so, yeah, and I think that'll be an exciting time as well.
Are you adamant about that? Are you actually fixed? That's what I want to be a coach?
Yeah, definitely. I think I want to give back, you know, with players that have helped me in my career since I was young until now, and of course it's going to be tough, but I feel like I can give a lot back. try and help young players. And yeah, you never know. Could be, you know, sat here in 10 years' time and not be a coach. I could be, you know, sat next to you, for example. You never know.
Sat.
Do you know what I mean? Like, you never know what you do. So, no, it's exciting.
Are you thinking youth play? Are you thinking youth coaching? Are you thinking with, you said give back there? Are you thinking more sort of like want to be a first team coach and sort of head coach?
I'd like to start like youth team.
You would?
I'd like to just to try and build myself up, because you know, you see a lot of players who just go straight with the first team, and sometimes it doesn't work. And it's about learning it as well, because you're going back to square one. I've spoke to a lot of people, and just because you know you was a footballer, it doesn't mean you're going to be a good coach. So I've spoke to a lot of players who I play with, like Michael Duffy, who was a manager who's done well at Cheltenham, and unfortunately it didn't really happen at Swansea. But I've got a lot of players who I play with who are in that dugout now, so it's even just leaning on them as well.
Yeah, I think, to be fair, you're not asking for my advice, but I would say definitely do your coaching badges as early as possible and get hundreds of hours on the grass coaching, because when I went to Valencia, I didn't really want to be a coach, and I was thrust upon it. I didn't have any experience. You know, the thousands of hours that the likes of Eddie or Michael Duff have put in coaching on the pitch and learning. It's just vital that, you know what I mean? You can't shortcut it. There's no shortcut.
No, I think it's been committed as well.
Yeah.
Because I've spoke to them as well, and they say it's tough. You know,
it is.
You know, it's play 7 till 7. You're working, and you know, you're probably working more than what as a player. So, but yeah, I think I'd like to take a bit of time out with my family as well, and then get back into it.
Kieran,
thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Great to see you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.